Hey guys!
Hope you're all doing okay, and welcome back to the podcast.
And we have another special guest with us on this episode.
Yay!
Nancy Ann Ridder, and if you're a fan of Scream, you will know her as the girl in the bathroom.
I made it out of the bathroom so that I can talk to Caitlin and Megan. The cheerleader let me out of her sight for a few moments.
Yay!
Oh, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. We
really appreciate it.
Oh, I'm so honored, and I was so excited when you guys reached out, and you you are like I feel like I'm back in high school. Well, back in high school, in the Scream High School, because you feel like my little teenager junior high friends. So I was so excited to get to meet you face to face.
Oh, brilliant. So, without further ado, let's get right into it.
Okay.
So, Caitlin, do you want to get us started?
Yeah, what actually made you want to pursue a career in acting?
Sure. I grew up in Alexandria, Virginia, just outside Washington, D.C. And Washington, D.C. has a great professional theater community. And my mom and dad love taking us to dance, ballet, theater, plays, the symphony. And they took me. Now I know you guys are babies, so this name I'm sure not mean anything, but they took me to they took me to see. Cats, I was older, but they took me to a great production of The King and I with Yul Brynner, Yul Brynner who originated the role of the king. And I remember seeing that production, and then a production of Oliver with the boy orphans. And I remember looking up at the stage when they were finished, or at intermission. I said to my mom, I'd like to be up on that stage. How do I get up there? So my mom, there have been no, we have very creative people in our family, but no actors. So my mom was like, oh Lord. And she happened at our little neighborhood grocery store. They had on the bulletin board auditions for a little musical called Snoopy, like from the Peanuts gang. Like there's a musical called You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown, and there's a musical called Snoopy that's been on Broadway. So it was a little local children's theater here in Alexandria, Virginia. Where I grew up is just like 15 minutes across the Potomac River from DC. But once I got cast in Snoopy, I just fell in love. The director was a great director, and the production was a really good production. And so once I did that, I just went from just audition for one play after the other. I looked so much like a boy growing up. So the next production I did audition for was Oliver. And I did play a little boy orphan in that production, and just went from play to play, musical to musical. And then when it was time for me to go to my neighborhood high school, I really was looking for more of a performing arts type high school, but I didn't know if one existed. And my parents took me, it's called Duke Ellington School of the Arts, and they took me to see a play there, just coincidentally. And so I asked my mom, I said, I'd love to audition for this school, this performing arts school. So I auditioned and got in. And so I was a theater major all 4 years, and what's nice with performing arts high school, as I'm sure you guys know, 8:30 to 1 are your academics. And then from 1 to 5 were all of my theater classes. And then when we were in rehearsal for productions, which was kind of throughout the school year, we would be in rehearsal till like 10 or 11 at night. So you just were living and breathing theater, the academics, but theater all afternoon and into the night. And it was really small. There were about only 400 kids. So they had a dance department, music department, theater, visual arts, literary media, like newspaper and magazine typewriting. And all of my theater classmates, you become like brother and sister. And it was just a really great, the acting teachers were wonderful. The productions we got to do. And that school was in Washington, D.C. in Georgetown. And that really was a really pivotal experience for me, just to be in acting class every day. I had been in acting class as a youngster, but being able to go every day to the school was amazing. And then we would have rehearsals at night and rehearsals on the weekends. So you just, it was all consuming. And then from there, I kept doing, oh, bless you.
Thank you.
I kept, that was such a sweet sneeze.
It's usually a lot more aggressive.
Wait, say again?
My sneezes are usually a lot more aggressive. I was just trying to keep it in.
Oh, no. Just let it go.
Thank you, sorry.
But yeah, so I kept doing professional theater while I was at Duke Ellington School of the Arts. And then I went to Northwestern University, which has a really good theater program. And that school is just outside of Chicago in Illinois. And so I was there for 4 years for university. And that was a wonderful theater place for me to be. And then I moved right out. I always was such a purist and thought, oh, I'm going to go to New York and do theater. And then my acting teacher, my senior year at Northwestern, he said, you don't have to limit yourself just to the theater. He said, of course, there's film and TV and voiceover work. So he was very encouraging to give Los Angeles a try. Because he said, New York will always be there, but he was very encouraging. So 2 weeks after I graduated, I went out to LA. And then what was so great timing wise, that was 1995. And then Wes Craven, was it a sneeze?
No, that was a cough.
Oh, so sweet. Okay. But seriously, sneeze away and cough away. Then I'll feel even more comfortable, like we're really best friends. But yeah, so when I got to, so sometimes I get so long-winded and I start to bore myself. So I hope I'm not boring you, but my parents were really outgoing. And so from the moment I was bitten by the bug and growing up in Washington, DC, it was just a great artistic place to grow up in. And my parents were very supportive. And then right when I got to LA, Wes Craven's assistant had been a classmate of mine at Northwestern University, and she was a friend. And she was, I think, a year ahead of me. And she randomly called me maybe in January. Do you have a cough and cold?
Oh, no, I've not got a cold. I just sneeze a lot.
Okay.
Just a bit of a sore throat, but I'm fine.
Okay. If you need to get tea or water, you're like me. But seriously, cough away. I don't want you to be, there's nothing worse when you have to feel like you have to stifle a cough. So don't.
Thank you.
I'm pretending we're like at a sleepover. But yeah, she called, I think it was January, February. So I was still 22. And she randomly asked, she called, and her name's Julie Plec, Plec. And she was Wes's assistant for the first Scream, and then went on to be a producer of 2, 3, and 4. And now she's a huge TV creator, showrunner, executive producer. I think she's just developed a TV project with Kevin Williamson, who was the screenwriter of Scream. So she's doing so many amazing things. But on this particular phone call, Julie asked, how tall am I? And I said, I'm 5'7". And she said, great, Wes Craven's going to be screen testing 5 actresses for the lead role of Sydney. And I made sure not to drink Coca-Cola, and I still feel like I had to burp, but I'm not going to. So the average height of the 5 actresses was 5'7". And so Julie said, we'd love to have you be the female stand-in for Sydney so that Wes can arrange the camera and the lighting just how he'll need it to be for the actresses. And Julie was like, we'll pay you $75. And I was like, oh, yes. And so that was like on a Tuesday, and that Saturday it was in some big warehouse space. And Wes Craven was there, his producing part, a couple of the producers, the casting director, and the first half, and then the 5 actresses were staggered. So one would come in, do the 2 scenes and leave. And so they weren't having to all wait in the waiting room together. So the first 3 actresses went, did the 2 scenes, and I just kind of made sure I stayed out of the way. And I stood behind Wes Craven, not right behind him, but I stood behind him because he had a good view of his monitor and then a good view of the 2 scenes. And the 2 scenes that day that they were having the actresses do were the bedroom scene where Skeet crawls into her bedroom window and he tries to get her to take the nightgown off. So that scene, and then the second scene was when the killer calls Nev Campbell for the first time. So I had standing behind Wes was just a good view of the monitor and the 2 scenes. And then halfway through the day, Wes Craven turns around to me and he goes, "Do you know the lines to the 2 scenes?" And since I'd been watching the 2 scenes be done for like, at that point, a whole the first half of the day, I said, "Yeah, I know them." And he said, well, he gave me a little script. He's like, "Well, here, just go over it." And he went to check on one of the actresses. And then because he was going to kind of readjust the camera and lighting, he said, "I want you to do the whole scene as Sydney."
Oh, wow.
and play it through. And then he had then he had a male stand-in for Skeet's part. I was about to say, and he had a female stand-in to play Skeet's part. Before I forget, the male stand-in who played Skeet's part ended up being cast. Of course, the first scene with Drew Barrymore. And do you remember her boyfriend's tied up with the tape?
One of the most iconic scenes.
Yeah. Isn't that scene is amazing.
It is.
I still get goosebumps watching it.
I shout Pam Voorhees every time.
Say again.
I'm always shouting, "It's Pam Voorhees."
Wait, it's
right in the answer to his question at the screen every time. It's like,
it's
Tracy's mother. Get it right. It's Pamela Voorhees. Get it right.
And I'm so stupid. You guys will be so upset with me. I'm a horror virgin, so I haven't seen any of Wes's Nightmare on Elm Streets. I'm dying to. I'm finally ready to. Haven't seen. They
are so good.
Yeah. So when you said Pam Voorhees, I was like, wow, that was going right over. I mean, I know the last name Voorhees. So the guy who was the stand-in that day for Skeet ended up playing poor Drew Barrymore's boyfriend, who gets gutted by the swimming pool. I don't mean to laugh, but that scene is so good. So we first did the bedroom scene, and then I did the phone call scene with the killer as Sydney, and then Wes Craven, very shockingly to me, he beelined right up to me and he put out his hand and he shook my hand and he said, "That was excellent." And then he went to go check on the actress. So it was a big warehouse space. And as he was walking out of the space, he goes, "Have her read for one of the bathroom girls." And even saying it out loud now, it doesn't even feel real. But it happened. And at that point, Lisa Beach, the amazing casting director for the movie and so many other great movies, she came running over and she said, once we finish casting the lead parts, we'll start bringing in actors for the smaller roles. And what was interesting is once Wes Craven put his little stamp of approval on me, then everyone else who was there, they were all nice through the whole day, but it was suddenly like, "Oh, Wes likes her, so now we all like her." But it was so. Nev Campbell was one of the 5 actresses auditioning that day, And she actually, I wasn't, again, I was just staying out of the way, but she was waiting a little bit before it was her turn to go. And so she said a few little sweet things to me. And I always remember that because she was just nice and normal. And at that point, I knew her from the TV show Party of Five. But yeah, so it was interesting. Of course, she gave a great audition. She's perfect as Sydney. And it was interesting to see the 4 other actresses. They were mostly TV and some film, a couple TV and a couple film actresses. And it was just interesting because each of the 5 of them were just so different from each other, looks wise, and then just character wise. So it was fun for me, being an actor myself, just to see each, like if you 2 were auditioning for Sydney, Caitlin would be different from Megan, like you'd get Caitlin's version and you'd get Megan's version. So that's what was fun to see. And so when they finally called me in for the audition, they had me audition for the cheerleader, the blonde cheerleader. Oh no, it was the worst audition I've ever given. And I'd been acting since I was 9 years old, so I was used to auditioning. Although this was my first on-camera audition. The only on-camera work I had done before Scream were these little industrial film training films for the Department of Labor when I was like 16. So my audition, I brought in all these makeup props and I just had no clue, and they have the camera on a tripod, literally no clue as to now. Once I got older, I knew to always have a reader with me to play the scene with me, but I just was playing the scene by myself in my bedroom, So it was so bad. But Wes, usually when you audition, it's just for the casting director. And then if the casting director likes you, she'll bring you back to the producers and then ultimately the director. Well, when I walked in, Wes was there, 2 of the producers, Lisa, the casting director. And when I went, even though I knew all of them, I shook their hands and Wes started bowing to me. And I thought, what drug is he on that he's so lovely? And so that was just magical. And so I did that audition. I was terrible. Leonora, who ultimately played the cheerleader, so perfect in the movie, as you guys know. So initially they called and they said, Wes wants you to be in the movie. But at the time, again, this was 25 years ago. But if I remember, it wasn't to be the girl in the bathroom. It was maybe to be in the big party scene at the end, the last half of the movie. There are 2 girls who kind of fawn over Courtney Cox. One's a blonde girl and one has curly black hair. And they're in that whole scene with just a couple of lines, but they're there. So I think that's what I was going to be playing. And then they randomly called again, and this was maybe at this point, maybe March, whenever it was, towards the beginning of filming, the assistant director called on a Tuesday, and he said Wes has pushed up the shooting schedule he's had to rearrange some of his shooting schedule, and he's going to be shooting the bathroom scene, and we want you to play the girl in the bathroom. And I was like, oh, I got upgraded. I got upgraded from the party scene girl. And the assistant director was like, would you like to play that? And I said, yes. And so then literally everything happened so quickly. The moment I said yes, he said, I'm going to jump off the phone, book you an airline ticket from LA up to Oakland, which is just across the bay from San Francisco. And then there was a driver to meet us at Oakland Airport to then take us up to Santa Rosa, which is a really pretty drive. So that was so I found out on a Tuesday. I feel like I was on the plane the very next day. So we got to the hotel Wednesday. We had Thursday to kind of get acclimated. And then that Friday we were on the bathroom set shooting the scene. And then he held us over through Saturday and Sunday in case he would need us for Monday for any pickup shots or anything extra. And then, but he got everything on that Friday. So then I flew back either that Monday or Tuesday. So it was the following Monday or Tuesday. So it was fun to have a few extra days. And I was so nervous. So the one nice thing was Lisa Beach was on my flight, and the assistant director was so funny. He said, we would normally get the two of you to sit by each other, but he said, Lisa Beach is terrified of flying, and we don't know if she's going to scream the whole way. So we got you your own seat separately. But when we got to the airport and the driver picked us up, Lisa pulled out a little wet flask of, this meeting has been upgraded. Okay. She had a little flask of whiskey and she was like, do you want some? And because I was so nervous and Hollywood was so new, I was like, sure. And then she took, when we got to the hotel, we each had our room, and she went and got the cheerleader and me. And she was like, let's go to the lounge and for happy hour. And so she made it, because Lisa was just so nice and down to earth. She really made me feel comfortable. And then the cheerleader, Leonora's, from the moment I met her, so generous and warm. And she grew up in a movie family. She'd already done some movies before Scream. So she was really comfortable in the movie world. So she was just so nice. Like, she didn't have any airs about her. And she knew it was my first movie. So we went and rehearsed the bathroom scene in her hotel bathroom, and we used her bathtub to be like our two stalls. And that's how all of that started. And then it was fun. Once I was so nervous doing that scene, but once I was terrified, but as I got a little bit older and I did another big film, not as big as Scream, but when I was in LA 95 to 2000, then I moved to New York in 2000. And by the time I got to New York, I started to feel much more comfortable on camera. So I started to get some big parts in small little independent films. And then I got another little small part as a nerdy girl again. And in a movie called Storytelling that had Selma Blair in it, John Goodman, Paul Giamatti, really great young and older cast. Young actors and older veteran actors. So it was interesting. I had less lines in Storytelling, but I had a little more camera coverage. Like, you see me a little bit more. And it was interesting because it was 4 years after Scream. So I was glad to see that I felt much improved just being on camera. Like theater, of course, I always felt comfortable. And so yeah, it's been fun. I know I'll always have the theater, but it's been fun with film and TV just to, the challenge of it, since I'm a pretty outgoing person, just learning how to make it as, subtle and as simple as possible has been a fun challenge. And the reason I just want to tell you all that my IMDb credits are so lame, they end at like 2005. I have tons of successful friends, and a really good friend of mine who's a TV writer, he used to say, you get a movie like every 5 or 6 years. He's like, way to go. What a great career. And then everything just ended. I was doing lots of professional theater, but people get most excited about movie stuff. The last little movie I did was called Charlie's Party, an independent film. And I met my he's now my ex-husband on that film. I played a big part. Anyways, we got married. And then he became physical. I laugh about it now, so you don't have to feel sorry for me. But he became physically abusive. right after we were married. So that's why my credits on IMDb, because other interviewers are like, we see your credits end at like 2005. And they're like, what? Oh, it's now 2022. So all of my marriage was all right after that movie came out, Charlie's Party. And then it was just, I never had been in a situation like that. And he was my ex-husband was Australian. Really, he played a beautiful score for the film Charlie's Party. So he was very talented. But I felt like I was spending all of my time helping him acclimate, from growing up in Australia to being in New York City, which I'm sure, I'm curious to know, like I can't say his name, but my ex, he would always get so frustrated because he would go to cafes and get drinks. He's like, nobody understands me. He'd be like, no one understands my accent. And I was like, he would get so mad. He's like, it's not like I'm speaking another language. So just having to deal with him, and then the psychological and physical abuse was very, very unexpected. And so once I finally got him to leave, I stayed with him a good amount of 6 years. Then once I got him to leave, which I'm grateful I got him to leave, then I was just struggling. I had a great little rent stabilized apartment in Greenwich Village. And I'm grateful I got him to leave, because I know some women don't ever make it out. Luckily, we didn't have children. But I know it's so complicated. Some women don't get out, or even men who are abused by their girlfriends or wives. So I was very grateful, but then I just shut down and was just kind of frozen and very just sad and depressed. And so right now I'm living with my mom and dad here back in my childhood home in Alexandria, Virginia. I was about to say, don't tell anyone, but all the interviews I've done, everybody knows. But I am hoping, so it's taken me a lot of trauma therapy. I'm still doing trauma therapy. It's taken many years just to get courage again, because I definitely want to keep acting. So I hope I can move back up to New York, maybe in a year's time. And New York's just 4 hours north from where we are. Okay, I've talked so much. You all talk.
Wow, what a journey. One question I've got is, like, what has been your favorite role in your acting career up to now?
Well, say again.
What's been like your favorite role up to now in your acting?
Oh, okay. Tennessee Williams is my favorite playwright. So I love I love Blanche Dubois from A Streetcar Named Desire. I didn't play her in a production. I just worked on her in scene study class at Northwestern. But it was the first time I was able to cry on cue in the scene. And so that was a big breakthrough moment, playing Blanche Dubois. And one of my Tennessee Williams, I'm curious if people know, like, of course, he wrote The Glass Menagerie, Streetcar Named Desire. He also wrote some beautiful little one-act plays that were maybe like 30 minutes. So there was a play called This Property is Condemned, and I played Willie, this little 13-year-old wayfish girl. They did turn it into a movie, but they made, Natalie Wood was the star of the movie with Robert Redford. So my little character, Willie, the movie was so different from what the actual one act was, but that was a big pivotal role, playing Willie. And that was it when I was at Duke Ellington. And then my other favorite production was based on a Southern novel called The Floatplane Notebooks. And I got to play a character who starts out as 5 years old, and then she ages to 15 and then 19. And I was about 20 at the time. I actually had an easier time playing the 5-year-old than I think it was 19. It was easier for me to tap into the 5-year-old age. So I thought, and then I have to play her at 15 and 19, but the 5-year-old, playing the 5-year-old age was the most fun. And the guy who directed that play has gone on, he was the director for Pitch Perfect, you know, the first one with Rebel Wilson. So his name's Jason Moore. So he's an amazing theater director, and he was the director of that play. And he went on to direct a Broadway play that was nominated for a Tony, and then Pitch Perfect was a big break for him in the movie business. And he just finished directing a movie with J-Lo, Jennifer Lopez.
Is it the new one with Owen Wilson?
Not that one. It's a movie that'll come out, but also similar. That movie, Owen Wilson, is called Marry Me. And then the movie that Jason directed is called Shotgun Wedding with Josh Duhamel. And I'm not sure because Jason would post stuff on his little Facebook of pictures. So I'm curious. I guess it'll come out in 2022 or maybe at the beginning of 2023. But yeah, I was thinking of that today. I was like, she's done 2 wedding movies. But Jason was such a great director. I was so grateful to get to work with him, and has also been a good friend. So those 2, and that play, The Full Play Notebooks, was an adaptation of a novel that Jason had done the adaptation. So it was really fun to be playing an adaptation of a novel. And so the ones I mentioned are the big standouts. And my biggest breakthroughs, I feel, acting wise, have been on stage, just because that's where the bulk of my work has been. But and then a little movie called Charlie's Party, I definitely felt, I felt, as far as film work, the little bit of film work I've done, that was a big part. And I definitely felt, not that I thought my performance was perfect, but I felt like I was kind of getting my sea legs under me and kind of figuring everything out. I remember in LA, I had a good friend who I met doing a McDonald's commercial, and she and I had the same commercial agent just for on-camera commercials. And she would see me, we would be at the same auditions, and it would say, oh, we want a quirky girl. And I know I have a quirky face, and my friend would see me, but I'd come in a costume and I'd quirk it up, and my friend would be like, Nancy, and what are you doing? She's like, you're quirky just as you are. You don't need to dress it up with costumes. So she was really helpful. So it's been a long learning curve, just figuring out the on-camera thing. But New York was great because I would audition for big movies and TV and Broadway. And that was all pre my marriage. So everything was going along very nicely. And there are no guarantees in the acting business, but I do always, now I'm so glad to have the ex gone that I have a lot of time to make up for, but I'm excited. I'm excited to play. Well, I'm not, I still want to, oh dear. Can you still see me?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. There's some weird. Okay, what's happening?
Technical difficulties.
Okay, there we go. Wait, technical difficulty. So I answered that question.
Yes. Caitlin, anything?
Yes. Oh, is there any dream role you would like to have on stage?
On stage, well, I would say Blanche Dubois from A Streetcar Named Desire. However, Vivian Leigh is my favorite actor. I know she's in heaven, from your country, from your homeland. But her performance as Blanche. Have you seen A Streetcar Named Desire with her in it?
I haven't seen it. I've heard of it.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Marlon Brando's in it. The 4 main cast members are all so good. And I would love to play Blanche, but I feel like Vivian Leigh did it so perfectly that it would be fun to play her, but I feel like I wouldn't want to touch something that was so perfect. But Tennessee Williams, yeah, is my favorite playwright. I love I love dramas. I love comedies. But yeah, to answer right off the bat with anything Tennessee Williams. One audition I had that was super fun. Do you remember the movie Hairspray?
Love it.
And then it was turned into a musical. That when I auditioned for that was to play Penny Pingleton, the friend of the main girl. Yeah. And there was a big musical, but at the time when they called my agent, they said, we know Nancy Ann doesn't sing, but she's perfect to play Penny Pingleton. We'd love to bring her in, and they said, we haven't decided with Penny Pingleton if we want the character to have a big, legit Broadway voice, or if we might just have her be a little character voice. So I told my agent, I was like, okay. And the scene, the acting, so I had to sing a little song, and then the acting scene I did is when her mom is trying to deprogram her from liking Seaweed, the black boy in the movie, and she's trying to like hypnotize her and puts bars on the window. So the scene went really well, and then the song was a good choice because I sang the Black National Anthem, and everyone in the room was like doubled over because it was I dressed as Penny, and it was a perfect little song choice. And they called my agent a few days later, and they said Nancy Ann was the perfect actor for the role, for the character. And they said, we decided we want Penny to have a big Broadway legit voice, but they said, so they wanted a trained singer, but they said, if Nancy Ann takes singing lessons, we'd love to bring her back in as a replacement down the lane. But that's kind of happened right before I met my husband. So I still do want to take the singing lessons just to see. I mean, I know I'm not going to be Adele is my current favorite singer. I know I'll never be Adele or Barbara Streisand or Judy Garland or Whitney Houston. But if I could just to play fun little character parts that sing, but so I would love to try the singing lessons just to see. There was another Broadway musical I auditioned for called, and you guys are so young, but it was called You're in Town, like urine.
I've been in You're in Town.
Oh my God, let me guess. Did you play Little Sally?
No, I was Becky. The pregnant one. I'm not pregnant, never been pregnant, but yeah.
It was all fake, all for the show.
That was I wasn't pregnant in the show because my classmate, she was actually pregnant and she already had a different role, and my teacher was like, we don't want 2 pregnancies. But yeah, I was Becky Two Shoes.
Oh, I remember. Isn't that musical so fun? I think brilliant. It's so funny. Did you do that during high school, or in college? I love that you guys did that production. I think in my first
year, I was really shy because originally I wasn't going to do musical theatre as one of my courses, but I thought I might as well give it a go, and I loved it, and it helped me develop my love for acting more because I didn't do performing in school. I did dance, but not acting or singing. But so in my first year, I was really shy, but I developed in my final year, my second and final year, and my character just came out. It was brilliant.
Yeah,
I love
the same with me. I did amateur drama for 9 years, so I was a part of an amateur theatre group from when I was 9 to when I was 18. So we do a musical every year, like every year on the trot. So we did Footloose, Fame, Annie, Oliver, Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, The Wiz, Footloose again, High School Musical. We've done loads. And as I got through, and Grease. How could I forget that? Grease. And as I went through, I started to gain more confidence as well. And then by 2016, when I was in Greece, I started landing parts in the actual character parts in the shows, working my way up from there. And it just improved my confidence so much. And now I have a part-time acting job like every weekend. So if it wasn't for that, it's an immersive experiences. So I'm an actor in an immersive experience. So we plonk customers into our venues and they go around for 2 hours following the storyline and solving puzzles and following the story. So it's really good fun.
Do you say you take them at, is it an outdoor immersive experience or within a theater?
We have an outdoor site, we have indoor sites. We have, one of our sites is the oldest steelworks factory in the country. So when it closes, we go in and do our experiences for the evening. And we've got Nottingham Forest. So it's literally in the forest, and we go around we take them around in the evening in the forest for like a couple of hours.
That is so cool. And is it every weekend or almost every weekend?
Pretty much almost every weekend on Saturdays.
That's so cool. I love that.
If it wasn't for musical theatre, I wouldn't have gone down that path.
So would you like to keep acting?
It'd be nice, yeah. Like find a balance between nursing and acting. Find that good balance.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Yeah. Not yet. Not yet.
Wait, what did Caitlin say?
Nurse in a film.
Yeah, I could play a nurse in a film because I actually have the background, but I'm not a nurse yet. So
are you you're in nursing school?
I've got 6 months left.
Oh my word, that's amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you.
It's my sister did her undergrad degree in nursing, and she's working as a nurse here in the States, in Maine, in the neonatal unit for premature babies. Wait, so how can we, with the acting, see, I want to keep, so if the acting, so you'd like both worlds to keep going, the nursing and the acting. Now, if someone comes along and says they want to put you in a film or a stage production, what are you going to do?
I would take that chance because I think, when is that going to come around again?
Yeah.
I just talk to them and say, look, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. Can I just take time off and just go for it?
Yeah, I think my sister did once she had kids, she needed not an easier schedule, but needed to be able to work from home. So she did medical transcription. But I love that do you like, so what neighborhood are you guys in?
West Midlands. So
Yorkshire.
like in the middle.
And say, Caitlin, where?
East Yorkshire.
Oh, East Yorkshire. And then Megan?
West Midlands, and that's kind of like in the middle of the UK. So I'm like in the middle. And
spell it's West, and then spell the
Midlands. Midlands. Midlands, yeah.
Okay. Oh wow, East Yorkshire. Wait, so so tell me how you guys got to know each other.
Comic-Con.
Yep. Comic-Con.
Did you see was it a recent Comic-Con?
It was 3 years ago.
Yeah, it was 2019.
Yeah, Walkstalker.
It was a Walking Dead convention.
Were you standing in the same line?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. And you got to talking?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then we bumped into each other at a con last year.
For Supernatural.
Yeah, and then we were it was
for the I meant to ask you all, was it for the TV show Supernatural?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So my little, I'm such a blabbermouth, but a really good friend of mine, he's not he's not in the main cast, but his name's Rob Benedict. And we met him. You did? Okay.
You did. I did.
I'll
I
have to
didn't.
give you
Oh wait, yeah, I came up
photos
with you. I
of-
remember
yeah.
now. Oh geez, yeah, I met him. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we were in the play. So he was 2 years older than I was at Northwestern, but the play where I played the little 5-year-old that the Pitch Perfect guy directed, Rob was in the play and he played my cousin. And we became so close during very close during that play and during all the rehearsals and then the production. But by the time I got to have that experience with him, he was a senior, I was a sophomore, and then he was moving with his girlfriend to Los Angeles. And I remember as a sophomore, I was like, how could you leave? How could you go to the movie to LA? You're such a brilliant stage actor. Why aren't you going to New York? And I would say again,
Like, how could you?
how could I remember on my little twin bed in my dorm room, like, how could you? Because he's he's a great actor, no matter TV, film, or theater, but he's so amazing on stage. The time I was living in LA, the 5 years I was there, he and I would see each other at parties and different things. But does he bring his band Loud and Swain to some of the supernatural conventions?
Does
He
in
didn't
the
say
US.
Crossroads, but he does
Say-
in America.
Creation Con is the company that runs it in the US. So they do the supernatural conventions, and Loud and Swain are pretty much at every single con. They weren't at Crossroads 3, but fingers crossed, at someday they will get Loud and Swain over to Crossroads, because that would be absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, when
I want
we're off camera, I can tell you a lot of fun, a lot of fun stories. But the guy, so his band is so good, and another friend of mine in the band that I became close with once I moved to LA is Mike Borja, Michael Borja, who's the other guitar player, and he sings as well. So they haven't, because I know they've gone overseas, Loud and Swain, but and I know, okay, so they do the US cons, but for when he came to the UK, it was solely for Supernatural. So tell me what it was like when you met him.
He was lovely.
He's got a heart of gold.
He does. And he's so inspirational as well.
Brilliant.
Isn't his little voice, like his face, his voice, like
instant serotonin, instant joy, serotonin, makes you happy every time.
Anytime I would see him in LA, so it's been many years. But at Northwestern and then in LA, anytime we would see each other, it would just be like fun little fireworks, because he's outgoing and I am outgoing. So it was always just fun, and he's such a good guy, and his wife is lovely, and so I got to know his wife in LA a little bit, but by the time they had their 2 kids, I was already living in New York. Did he give you a hug?
It wasn't allowed.
I think because of COVID, we didn't really get.
Oh, it was recent.
Yeah, it was September last year.
Months.
It was the first con back for almost 2 years.
Oh,
So it was the first one back.
So you saw him recently?
Yeah, and it was honestly the best con I've ever been to. It's my first Star Fury event. That's the company that runs it. And they do it so well. Like, I'll never stop shouting about Star Fury, because they are amazing. They do the cons.
Say the name again.
Star Fury.
Star Fury.
Wait, say it one more time.
Star Fury. So
Star Fury?
Yeah, Star Fury.
Oh, okay.
So they do cons so well. And honestly, it's the best one I've ever been to. And I think, Caitlin, do you agree? Best one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's always good fun.
They do it so much better than all the other con companies. Sorry.
And they do it well affordable.
Oh,
as well.
no. I've never been to any conventions, so I'm learning so much from you guys. Well, will you go to another Supernatural? Well, if you ever see Rob again, tell him that little Nancy Ann Ritter sends her love and says hello. I know our paths will cross again, but my marriage took me out of the scene for a long time. But yeah, definitely tell. I hope he's excited when you tell him.
We're going to the next one in April. There's one in April. We're both going already.
Yeah.
And then
You
there's
have to tell it.
there's one later this year as well. So if he goes to the one later this year, we'll definitely, if he goes, fingers crossed he goes, that'd be so good.
Oh yeah, and my name, Nancy Ann Ritter. Just say I love him and I miss him, and I hope his wife and 2 kids are doing well. So yeah, but I hope his band is so good. So
they're fantastic.
I'm so glad. So have you heard them just listening to them online?
Yeah.
Haven't had the privilege of seeing them live yet.
Yeah. It was fun in the 90s. Let's see. I was on a softball team with Mike. Do you know the name Mike Borja or Michael Borja? He's in the band. He's like the second guitar player. Yeah. Really sweet, really nice guy. So he and I played softball every Sunday together. And then I remember when they first formed the band together and they would play at a fun little bar called Molly Malone's in Los Angeles. So it was fun to see them when they were starting out and in these small little bars. So it's been fun just to, from afar, see. Rob and I are Facebook friends. So you could message him and say, we know Nancy Ann Ritter.
I would not have the guts. I would not have the guts. Not.
You should see if he'll do your show.
We are trying to get Kings of Con, the podcast,
which is his podcast,
Richard Plate Jr.
Okay. Have you reached out to them?
We have.
On Instagram, yeah.
We have reached out.
And what have they said?
Nothing yet. They haven't seen it.
But we get it. They're busy guys. They're busy people. We get it.
Yeah, and they most probably get loads of messages anyway from crazy fans.
Mm.
And so they do. I was going to say, if I had any pool, I do always send them birthday. If I can figure out a way, I'll see if I can make magic happen. I always send him a birthday message. He's a very special person, but it's just been so long. I wish I could figure out. Well, I could just send him a private message and see, and show and tell him the name of your podcast. But now I'm even nervous saying it. But I'll see if. See, what kills me is I have so many great all my stuff is in storage. And when Facebook first came out, that was during my marriage, I have so many great pictures of Rob and me from the play we did. And the pictures are so great. And he's so cute as his little the cousin character. And I have all these great pictures that I know he probably hasn't even seen. That I'm dying to post on Facebook, but they're all in storage. So if I can, I know once I can share those pictures, but it might be a year. But so give me some time. But but if I could craft a little message, it'd be so much easier if I could see them. I know they come to New York City occasionally to play, which I would have, but when he started coming there, I was living down here and oh gosh, I want to make it happen. So when you reach out to him, do you want him to come on your show with Ricky? Or would you just want Rob by himself?
Both.
Kings of Con.
You want Kings of, so them
we're gonna have to make a reunion happen as well. We're gonna have to have you and Rob on at the same time.
I could do the reunion. I don't know Ricky. I know who Ricky is, but I don't know him. But I would be willing if you just had Rob on, then I'd feel comfortable. If it was Rob and Ricky,
We could make it happen. We could
Oh,
work
yeah.
magic ourselves.
Because I'd feel stupid if Ricky was there. I'd feel so dumb because I don't have, like, I know Rob's super close with him. But that would be so fun. Well, yeah, you see if you can make headway. What was I gonna say? Yeah, he's on. Well, I just opened an Instagram account, so I don't know how. I've been posting a lot on Facebook about all the Scream interviews and conventions and stuff. But I don't know. But it would be hilarious because then it'd be like the Brady Bunch. It'd be the four squares.